evening and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. We are back. It's May. Yes, it's gonna be May. Yeah, it's May. And
Best month of the year.
yeah, April just kind of blew by, didn't it?
Yeah, I love this time of the year because I don't have to have either the heat or the air conditioner on, in the house. It's literally I open up the windows and it's just this little piece of time, right in between the seasons that I love because I hate having either on.
You're reminding me of a moment from a movie. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Okay. Hopefully it's a good memory.
Um, the movie Miss Congeniality.
Uh-huh.
William
Sandra
Shatner.
Bullock, right?
What?
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock, yeah. One of the contestants, Cheryl Fraser, is up being interviewed by the host, played by William Shatner. And he asked her to describe her perfect date. Her response was, I have to say April 25th, because it's not too hot, not too cold. All you need is a light jacket.
That's me. Yes, that's me. But my favorite date would be May 4th, which was yesterday.
Yes, that would be because of your birthday, Free Comic Day, and Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day, yes.
Yes.
All of the above.
Yeah. By the way, hello to Ed. I've always thought it was amazing how much we could bastardize a holiday. Just as I don't know if it's Americans or humans, but we have a holiday to celebrate our Lord and Savior if you're religious, and it turns into a giant commercial holiday.
Mm-hmm.
We have a holiday to celebrate, but we create holidays to celebrate our mothers and our fathers, and it's just so we buy gifts.
Mm-hmm.
We have Easter and we give away candy and have a bunny that has,
Mm-hmm.
So, and Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween should be the easiest sell holiday ever. You get to put on a scary costume and people give you free candy.
Yeah.
But instead, all the women costumes are the sexy versions.
Sure. Yes. Right.
And it's not like, it's
Uh-huh.
a sexy version of something sexy, or it's
Right.
the sexy version of mustard.
Well, personally, that's funny because I always think of holidays in the United States as an excuse to drink. To me, that's what every holiday has become. Is
saying because it's Cinco de Mayo, we should be drinking?
Yeah, I mean, St. Patrick's Day is literally just an excuse to drink. Yeah, Cinco de Mayo is I mean, even those big commercial holidays, it's an excuse to drink. Christmas, let's drink eggnog with rum in it or something.
Wow, straight scotch.
I hope what's it I'm losing it who regulates on air content, what is the group?
FCC?
FCC doesn't get after us because
I don't think they can do that with
you're drinking while on air.
Yeah, but there are websites there's YouTube channels specifically about making drinks and people trying drinks. I think we're okay.
Okay.
It says, yeah, I hate that Halloween used to be about a good scare. Now it's who looks the sluttiest. Exactly. So, and this was the point I was getting to.
And who drinks the most?
To my utter surprise, looking out on social media yesterday, just about every other post was somebody in a Star Wars cosplay. But I'd say 90% of them were women in outfits that never appeared in Star Wars. And the rest were all enslaved Leia outfits.
Oh, There
Or
was
what
a
do they call it now? They call it Hut Slayer Leah.
uh, there's a family that came into the comic shop where the comic shop that I go to, and I was helping them. I was working the door, and there was a family that came in, and they were all Star Wars cosplaying, and the girl of the family, and I honestly I didn't want to try to figure out how old she was, but I'm gonna guess she was 12 maybe or whatever, and she had a Princess Leia outfit on, but it was like a New Hope layout, the white outfit with the buns, she did her hair and everything, except it was like mini skirt New Hope Leia, and she had boots on with like heels like this, but she was 12, or something like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, it's like kind of ridiculous. Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's like I saw so many women who do sexy cosplay stuff and sexy photos all the time.
Mm.
Suddenly they're dressed up like, well, I don't know if they're supposed to be Ahsoka or just that race,
Yeah.
or half naked Jedi, half naked Sith, half naked stormtroopers. I'm not even sure why that's a thing.
No, that is a thing at conventions where like just being a stormtrooper is not good anymore. You have to find clever ways to be a stormtrooper. So usually I see like the Muppets stormtroopers, Planet of the Apes stormtroopers. So no, that is a thing where you sort of combine something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen the Elvis Trooper before.
Yeah, right. See, that's exactly what I mean. It's not good enough to just be a stormtrooper anymore.
Yeah, I I don't know. It seems like people, artists in comics get nailed for drawing women too sexy, but the women who go to comic conventions as cosplayers make the
Yeah,
costumes even sexier.
yeah, I hear you, but you can't say anything like that because then you're shaming them.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
didn't want to
know.
use the term that Ed used
Hmm.
because I don't
Oh,
think that's
yeah,
the right.
yeah.
I try not to
The
use that, but
the comics and the fandom has a real problem with that. Although idealized drawings of both men and women have been part of the industry since its very beginning because it's supposed to be about these perfect individuals, these superheroes that are, but that aside, yeah, there's the complaints about that, but then yet there's so many people in the fandom, in the community, who promote that, but you can't say anything, like you can't point it out.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a weird thing that I just try to stay out of, altogether, and
oh, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
look the other way.
It's like I used to do shoots with cosplay models,
Hmm.
and I have this amazing shoot with this one girl who used to be a ballerina, and she's now a full time model. Um, Very slender, very taunt, but I have her in a classic Harlequin costume,
Hmm.
and she goes over the top, does the big facial expressions, is terrific. And I realize now that that is the most tame of most of the Harley Quinn outfits and shoots you see nowadays.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's a group of cosplayers who always do free comic book day at the shop that I go to, and they're great. They're called, the name of the shop is Monarch, so they're the Monarch Avengers. But there's a lady who does Storm, classic Storm, like classic Dave Cockrum,
Okay. The black
Storm.
outfit with the wings.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so accurate or whatever, but it's,
Yeah.
in saying that, it's an actual sexy,
Yeah.
Storm, because the comic book version is too, so, but she kind of attracts the wrong kind of attention you know, there's guys who are coming to Free Comic Book Day and they're all like, "Where's Storm? Where did she go?" It's like, well, sir, she might be taking a break right now, you know. And then them kind of hanging around on the fringes of the crowd, you know, waiting for her to come back. But I'm sure she's probably used to it and she knows how to handle people like that. But I would never ever say to her, like, don't do that character. I mean, she's not changing it all. She's just doing the actual outfit.
Well, and let me be clear. I have a lot of friends who are cosplayers and a lot of friends who are models, and God bless you.
Yep.
You want to dress up in costume? Great.
Yeah.
You want to make it whatever version you want to make it? Great.
Yep.
Okay. It's just there's this double standard of, oh my God, you drew that. And then it's like,
right. Yeah.
But then I'm old. I mean, I've been going to conventions long enough, and I think you have too.
Yeah.
That we remember where cosplayers were just in the crowd. You know, it was probably 10, 15 years ago that cosplayers started getting tables.
Yep. Yeah. The whole reasoning behind it has changed. And I always kind of laugh a little bit when I'm at a show, you know, but it's fun in a way because everybody who comes in costume, they have some poses that they're ready to do. They, you know, they have maybe a couple different ones, you know, and they know that they're going to be photographed multiple times, and they're, you know, that's a total thing. They go there, you know. I mean, a psychiatrist could probably have a field day with the people, you know, as far as, you know, I don't know if they use the term exhibitionist anymore, you know, but it's it's attention seeking, which, I mean, I guess me being behind a table selling books is a desperate cry for attention, right?
Well, first I want to answer Ed. Yeah, Ed, cosplayers have tables now, and they do sell pictures of themselves. Yeah. And I don't understand the copyright thing behind that, you know. But then I haven't understood the copyright behind those guys that show up at the conventions and have those giant walls of prints of drawings they've done. It's like, you don't own any of those characters.
Yeah.
And they don't have the legal right to do that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've talked to one publisher who said that any artist that contacts them and says, hey, I do conventions, I'd like to do drawings of these characters of yours, he gives them permission. That way it's legal. But without doing that, they don't have permission. So if you're going into a convention, there's a guy with that skyscraper tall backdrop.
That guy. Yeah. But, you know, the professional artists, though, I mean, the real artists who are working for DC and Marvel and whoever the hell else, I mean, technically them sitting there doing the sketches and everything of the characters, they shouldn't be making money off of that. But the companies generally look the other way because they know there would be a revolution against them. All the artists, you know, would be up in arms, and because they make a lot of their money, you know, that way. I think part of it is that a line has to be crossed with like the guys with the towers and everything. Although they're selling prints, I think if they ever decided to put it into a book form and publish it, then you're getting into a place where it's really crossing a line.
Cosplayers do that now.
Yeah.
They take photos of themselves and publish them in books or publish them in calendars and sell them.
Yeah, it's again, I think it's more trouble than it's worth for the companies because of the especially for the most popular cosplayers, the ones that are considered professionals.
Yeah.
But the backlash against the companies, that they would just look horrible. Like, oh my God, you came down on, you know, the cosplayer in the whole business, you know.
Yeah. But then I don't understand how some of these companies are doing not homage covers, but there's one publisher in particular that takes their characters and put them in versions of other companies' costumes and publish those books as costume variants. And it's like, what? How the hell do you do that?
Well, you use the word homage, so that's, I think, what they're trying to fall back on, you know.
It's just And you know what? I don't have a problem with the people. People are doing it because if they sell and the other companies aren't stopping it,
Hmm.
but I don't understand it. You
Hmm.
know, I don't
Hmm.
understand how these, is it just the publisher? I mean, because Marvel and DC are owned by Disney and Warner Brothers, two of the most litigious companies in the world.
Yeah. Well, that's what it would take is the big parent company saying, "Why do you allow this?" And we want it to stop. And then DC, Marvel, whoever would have no choice but, to listen to the big parent company and do something about it. This happened to me recently with Star Trek. So the nonfiction Star Trek book that I just put out, I had a cover originally that I thought was okay. It did not have any likenesses on it, and I was being careful. Even it was like the characters were beaming in, so it was like more like the outlines of them. So no insignia or anything like that at all. And it wasn't even published, but we were promoting the book online, and the next thing I know, Paramount is coming to me saying no, and it's like, well, and they're like, no, but people can still tell that's supposed to be the Star Trek characters, and there's a chance they would mistake that for an official release,
Yeah.
and that would be competition against us. So no, you can't do that. Somebody in the know who works with Paramount and does a lot said that they thought that what was going on was that they're going through the sale right now of the company, and that they were getting their ducks in a row and trying to clean things up so that the incoming new parent company would not have to say, why are all these books being put out about Star Trek, and they're using images and things like that. They were trying to do a preemptive strike,
Yeah.
because here's me getting hit, and I'm like, well, I don't do it because I know it wouldn't go anywhere, but it's like, here's this book, this book, this book, and this book, who are using actual full images, photos, and likenesses, and Star Trek in the Star Trek font.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand it either. It's like, where's the line?
Exactly. So, okay. Wasn't going to be one of our
Oh
topics.
boy, I thought that was a great topic, man. I was going to
Yeah.
compliment you on that.
Yeah.
I was all fired up.
We just got there. We got there naturally. And Ed, yeah, I agree. I don't think that's necessarily right. I think the publishers are just. I think the publishers allow it out there because it's good advertising for them. I mean, I've got a
Yeah.
sketchbook here from a very popular artist who I am a fan of, who I actually talk with occasionally on certain things. And, here are pictures of Aeon Flux and the Goblin Queen from X-Men,
Hmm.
or here's the other direction.
Well, Dan, you know what? You were talking about homages and things like that. How many homages are out there? Oh, wow. How many homages are out there to the cover to Action Comics #1? And I don't mean just from DC, of course,
Yeah.
but even Marvel probably, I think, has done. I think it's like it's expected. Action Comics #1 has been there since.
I think as long as you acknowledge it, people are fine with that.
Yeah.
But,
It'll usually have, after Schuster, or it should have at least,
well, it's
but
like
they know.
one of the most homage covers ever is that famous cover from Crisis on Infinite Earths of Superman holding Supergirl.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah.
I've even written a book that ended up with that cover because
Uh-huh.
Jim Valentino parried it for the 5th issue of the Shadowhawk series I wrote.
How many parodies and homages are there for Fantastic Four #1? I once saw somebody put up a whole spread of how many times John Byrne has, done a version of Fantastic Four #1 for like Marvel characters and stuff, but like I think he also did it with his own characters at one point from Dark Horse or whatever. So it's expected. that people are going to do that because they've been there for a million years.
Yep. It's kind of like the old Batman standing on a gargoyle.
Uh-huh.
They'll do it from every angle. They'll do it from every camera, but it's still Batman standing on a gargoyle.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on. I do want to say a couple positive things.
Oh no.
I had a very pleasant experience this weekend at the Games Workshop / Warhammer store. I got a box set of Warhammer figures for a present, and where I liked the set very much, and it was a set I wanted, I realized that there was a special box set they have where it came with a lot more figures, but it included those same figures.
Uh-huh.
So I got this group called Chaos Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the box. It was still wrapped, unopened. I didn't have the price tag. I didn't have the receipt. I was pretty sure it got bought a ways away from here.
Yeah.
So I went to the local store for me, and I said, I've got this box. What I'd like to do is trade it in or return it for store credit to apply to what's known as a Vanguard box. And the Vanguard box includes the exact same Chaos Warriors.
Yeah.
But it also comes with 5 Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
It comes with a hero champion, and it comes with a guy on with a freaking chariot.
Okay.
And it's a big price difference.
Mm-hmm.
But, it would take 3/7 of the price off by returning that.
Yeah.
And then I still end up with 17 figures instead of 10.
Yes.
So I get the 7 figures. And if I would have bought them individually, I would have spent probably $140.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could just bought that box at it's $140 for that box.
Yeah.
Or, and get the extra 10 warriors, or I could trade in the one I had and just pay the difference.
Sure.
And that worked out really well. And they were great about it. I just had to put in my information and that was it. And it was absolutely wonderful.
We did that at when I used to work for Walden Books. Some people would come in and say, I was given this book as a gift. I already have it. May I, exchange it, for something? And as long as it was in saleable condition and all they were asking for was the credit or to put the amount towards, a purchase, then we didn't have a problem with it, as long as we could just turn right around and sell that copy,
So that's what I ended up with.
Wow.
And these guys all look like they're from 1970 Heavy Metals cover. Like Ronnie James Dio and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a guy on a freaking chariot.
It's like a rainbow in the dark.
Yep. A holy diver, if you will.
Dio.
Yep. I figure it's somewhere between Dio and Meatloaf covers.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you. And now you've just said online, you've said in public that you returned a gift.
But I got the same gift.
I know, right.
But
okay, but does the person know that you did that?
Only if they watch my show, and I don't think they ever watch the show. So.
All right, folks. Start spreading the word. Jan is a gift returner.
The same stuff I still have.
I know.
Build them. I will paint them, and I will show her and go, "These are what you got me."
Yeah, here's what you got me. And boy, I am so glad it was such a thoughtful, nice.
Absolutely. Well, the reason
you know what, that is right though. I mean, that was a very nice, thoughtful gift. I mean, who goes out and buys Warhammer figures for somebody, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, she knows you well.
There's 2 versions of Warhammer. There's Warhammer. Well, there's more than that now, but there's Warhammer 40K, which is a sci-fi version, and there's Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is a fantasy version.
Yeah.
And I've been building my Grey Knights these guys up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's for 40K. And they came up with this thing called Combat Patrol. And it's basically is you could buy one of these boxes and just take it home, build it, paint it, and play that army. You didn't need to add, because up until they did this about a year ago, you needed to add more figures.
Mm-hmm.
And they put the rules and everything you need to play it on for free online. So you could just buy your army and go. Well, that's awesome. But they didn't have anything like that for Age of Sigmar. They just announced it. They're calling it Spearhead. And what you need is that box. The figures in that box make up the Spearhead army for that army. So it worked out really well.
So let me ask, was this your girlfriend or your ex-wife that gave you that?
No, she went with me, actually.
Okay.
She got me Eternus on the horse.
Okay.
It'll
take me 2 seconds. I gotta grab I got a figure for a birthday present. Hang on a second.
Okay. Hey, Triple B, good to see you.
Since we're doing show and tell for birthday gifts, I got something that I didn't even know existed. It's one of the Black Series Star Wars figures, but I didn't know it existed. Seriously, it's called the Holocom Collection, and the figure is like clear, and it
looks like it's one of the little hologram things that pop up when they're doing communications.
Right. It's the puck. It's the bounty puck.
Oh.
Right here. And you put him on the bounty puck.
Is it Han Solo?
Yes, look, see? And
I love it.
It even has like the little, like it's supposedly like the array, that pops up, and it has the Arabesh writing on it. It probably says Han Solo, and then you activate the puck and the light comes on in it, and it lights up. So it's supposed to be yeah. He
cool.
Sends me this, and I'm like, this is super cool because I had no idea, and I don't know what other characters they might have, but it says it's the Holocom Collection. So what was funny, because normally I might have left this in the package because I really like packaging and it's got a really cool illustration on it. But I said to him, "Oh, you're killing me. I have to open this because I have to see how this works."
Okay, I see Ahsoka.
Uh-huh.
I see Mando.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So yeah, there's Han, there's Ahsoka, there's Mandalorian, and then there is...
They should have Chewbacca.
Bo-Katan Kryze.
Oh, that would be a cool one to have.
Axe Woves.
Uh-huh.
Those are the ones that are listed so far.
So Han seems to be the only classic character then. So
yeah.
Oh, but that was super cool. He usually sends me a Funko Pop figure, like a Princess Leia, one, but this was really cool and unexpected.
Yeah, he says if you take it out of the box, we could see it better.
I will have it out and displayed by next episode. So sequel.
The nice thing about the Black Label is that the boxes are pretty well. You can open them and close them.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Literally, I just have to slit the tape right there, and open it up, or I could do it on the side too. But yes, and that is very, very true. But you know what I hate is they're doing more and more where they're not using all this plastic, and it's all sealed up. So it might have it has an illustration or a photo on the front, but you can't see the figure at all. I see that they're doing a lot of that, but maybe that might have backfired on them because I think their sales,
or they think that the picture is better than the figure.
Well, of course, it's like food.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention, but we were talking before the show about the Johnny Quest book that came out this weekend from Dynamite, and the resurgence that they're having with books like, they did the Disney books, Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck. Then they got into Thundercats,
Mm,
and Johnny Quest is coming up. They're doing a bunch of the villains from Disney:
mm-hmm.
Maleficent, Hades, Cruella de Vil. They're doing a Hercules comic. But the one I sat down and read this weekend, I loved it, and that was the new Space Ghost. Um, the art's by Jonathan Lau, who I
Mm-hmm.
think is probably the hidden gem that Dynamite holds to use for certain books, because he's probably the most superhero artist they have.
Yeah.
He did back when they were doing the Magnus Robot Hunter and Dr. Solar and stuff like that. Jonathan did some of those books. But his take, other than there's a couple wonky panels, but overall, it's a really gorgeous, well drawn, well colored book. It reminds me a lot of Shane Davis art.
Mm-hmm.
He did the Superman Earth One graphic novels,
Mm-hmm.
and he did like the Strange Adventures books.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I
looking wise, it's a great looking book. They've got great covers by Francesco Mattina, Jay Lee, Bjorn Behrens, who did not gonna. But then, if you like that classic Hanna-Barbera look,
yeah.
there's a series of covers by Michael Cho that looks like that. It's much more
There's
cartoonish.
That's a good point. I did not pick it up because I'm not the biggest Space Ghost fan ever. I didn't know, I didn't think I wanted to, invest in that because I'm just not that big of a fan of the character. But before they opened the shop yesterday for Free Comic Book Day, the owner and I were looking at the rack of new stuff, and he's like, "Oh my God, did you look at the Space Ghost thing?" And I love what he said, and I hope nobody who works for Dynamite is listening, but maybe I do. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, I expected to open this and get the typical Dynamite art that's just not that great. That's always like the outsides look really great for
Mhm.
Dynamite and Boom and things like that. And then you get inside and it's always just not to the, level of DC or Marvel, or whatever.
Yeah.
He goes, I was really surprised. He goes, this looks really, he goes, look at this. Look. And then it was funny. He comes to the one panel and then he goes, not exactly the Space Ghost I remember. It's a big panel of Space Ghost fighting with some guy, and Space Ghost is behind the guy and punching the guy right in the small of the back. Like it looks like he's breaking the guy's back. And he's like, yeah, not exactly something I remember the Hanna-Barbera Space Ghost doing.
Yeah, this is definitely a modern take on it.
Right. That's why I'm like kind of warning everybody out there in the audience. Maybe not your Space Ghost.
David P. Post did a really good job on crafting it as a relatable story.
Okay.
That's the thing that got me was this is a character that's created in the 60s, got really twisted in the 90s when they did that Space Ghost Coast to Coast. So there's a lot of people picking up the book thinking it's going to be a comedy.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's kind of like what Seth Green did with Green Hornet when he did the movie. And I will never, Seth Rogen, excuse me. And I'll never forgive Seth for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a really strong book. And sometimes it's nice to pick up a superhero book that isn't tied to a huge universe of other things that you got to keep track of,
Yeah. That said, few years back they did do I'm not sure what company was it. Dynamite? I don't know. They did the Hanna-Barbera verse of
that was DC. They did a crossover with
DC. Okay, you're right. Did you read that?
I saw some of them. I know some of them were pretty good.
Okay, it was, and it was fairly faithful, but they had to weave it into a somewhat coherent universe. Some of them were more traditional, but some were, like a different take on it. But I mean, it had everything. It had, Mighty Mitors and I think it had Johnny Quest in it, and how many other different things. Herculoids. I think Space Ghost was in it. But it was a grand experiment, and I think it was like a 12-issue series, if I remember correctly. And the art was pretty good in it too.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been a couple of spin-offs, if I remember correctly. But that's interesting that you were just saying about not part of a, I know what you meant, but they tried to weave it all together into one universe.
Yeah. And by the way, talking to, or if you talk to your store owner, you might want to mention the fact that, Dynamite has probably a slightly lower level of art because every time they get a good guy in there, other companies grab them.
They get poached. Yeah. I hear you.
Giuseppe Cafaro was working over at Dynamite on, I want to say, the Lady Hell book. I think that's what he was working on.
Yeah.
But now he's the artist for the upcoming Witchblade series.
I always had that problem with the $6 Million Man comics. It would have an Alex Ross cover, and I'd be so excited for it, and then it would just have this somewhat subpar art, on the inside. It's
the nature of the business. Most publishers are that way. Zetascope was always that way. They'd pay big money on the covers, and then you get the inside guys where usually, we had to translate the scripts into another language. And
speaking of retro, the shop owner said the Dick Tracy comic, he said, sold really well for him. Yeah. But that's a different take, quote unquote modern take on Dick Tracy. But he was surprised on that one.
Yeah, Dick Tracy's doing well. So there is this nostalgia. And I think it's that people are finally realizing, oh, yeah, our audience are all 50-year-olds.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. So there was a topic I did want to get to. And it was my topic on the Dan Wickline show this week. And it has to do with superhero fatigue in the movies and stuff. And there was a...
well, they can just rest like the rest of us, they can take a break now and then. This silly thing about, I'm so tired to leap a building in a single bound. And it's like, whatever, you're Superman. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I got to let you have that every once in a while,
Because if not, I'll get fatigued.
Yes, pretty much. So Joe and Anthony Russo talked about the current state of the industry and superhero fatigue itself. And it was pretty interesting comments because, these guys, they've done 4 superhero movies. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Captain America, Civil War, Avengers, Infinity War, Avengers, Endgame. And they've made a little bit of money on those. So I kind of take what they're saying as maybe somewhat accurate. But Joe Russo said, I think it's a reflection of the current state of everything. It's difficult right now. It's an interesting time. I think we're in a transitional period, and people don't know quite how they're going to receive stories moving forward or what kind of stories they're going to want. There's a big generational divide about how you consume media. There's a generation that used to do appointment viewing and going to a theater on a certain date to see something, but that's aging out. Meanwhile, the new generations are all, I want it now, I want to process it now, then moving on to the next thing, which they process while doing 2 other things at the same time. It's a very different moment in time, and I think that really is the problem at play here. So basically, he's saying that everything is different. But Anthony Russo added about the superhero fatigue question was around long before we were doing our stuff. So it's a sort of eternal complaint. Like we always used to cite this back in our early days with superhero work. People used to complain about Westerns in the same way, but they lasted for decades and decades and decades. They were continually reinvented and brought to new heights as they went on. So neither of them seem to think that superhero fatigue is the reason that things are going bad. And you have to accept that things are going bad because this weekend at the box office, was down 55% over last year. What opened this weekend? The number one movie at the box office this weekend was The Fall Guy.
Mm-hmm.
It made $28 million. This weekend last year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 opened to 114 million or something like that. Big difference. So I think what we're seeing is that the industry has changed. And the number, you know what the number 2 movie was at the box office this weekend?
Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Phantom Menace, 8.1 or 8 something million.
Mm-hmm.
Just beating out the third place movie,
Mm-hmm.
which was that Competitors or whatever it is with Zendaya, the tennis movie.
Oh, the tennis
Yeah.
thing, right? Yeah.
So, and it got me thinking, and what Joe Russo said, and I think the problem isn't superheroes and the movies they're making, because
I
yeah,
agree.
they re-released the Star Wars prequel today.
Yeah.
Or this weekend for May 4th. Plus, there were marathons that went on showing all the movies.
Yeah. It's 25th anniversary of Phantom Menace, so there's that too. There's a significant amount of people who had never seen that movie in a theater.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking what studios need to start doing is they need to start controlling the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, day in and day out, you can find videos and posts from Screen Rant, Screen Crush, Heavy Spoilers, Emergency Awesome, New Rock Stars. Or you go over to like Twitter and stuff, or X, and you see Daniel Richtman, Daniel RPK, My Time to Shine, or Can We Have Toast? These spoiler people putting all this stuff out there, and they're constantly feeding this narrative. And right now, the negative posts tend to get more hits. You could go and look at their topics and see which ones get the better views, and the negative ones get the better views.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And the thing is that Marvel will come out and they'll go, we're doing the Fantastic Four. These are our 4 actors. We'll see you in 6 months. Well, these websites have popped up and these posters, influencers, whatever you want to call them, and they aren't waiting 6 months for the next bit of news.
Yeah, right.
They're picking apart every movie in 75 different ways, breaking down every Easter egg. And here are the things you missed in the latest episode of The Bad Batch. And
why the new Fantastic Four movie will suck.
Yeah. Here's the new guy they just cast. Is he the voice of Herbie? Will he be the Mole Man? That's a real one, by the way. So what I think what the studios need to do is start thinking like the new generation. They need to stop doing big announcements. And they need to have a constant stream of things. And I don't mean they need to have 24/7, but
I know what you mean.
They should have social media teams on every movie that post every day little things. Costume reveal. Hey, here's a quick practice for the stunt team. Hey, here's Anthony Mackie on the set of Captain America 4. How's your day going, Anthony? Oh, yeah, we're just having a lot of fun working with Harrison Ford. It's amazing. Little 30-second interviews, 1-minute bits. So that it's constantly filling their feed like everything else is, instead of the negativity constantly filling the feed.
Where James Gunn is not doing it as frequently as you're suggesting, but it's interesting. James Gunn does do an awful lot of that sort of thing.
He does.
Yeah.
I think he has a better idea, but the problem is that he's also very busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh,
he'll
yeah.
have
I totally agree. Yeah, he himself should have a team doing, that sort of thing, just a little
but like
snapshot, of,
he
you
posted
know,
he posted the original logo for Superman, the
hmm
yellow badge with
hmm
the regular S on it,
hmm
and people went absolutely crazy. And then about a week later, he posted a Dave Johnson drawing of a Green Lantern's fist, bloodied with the ring, and it's from the cover of one of the graphic novel or trades.
yeah.
And that got a lot of people buzzing, going, "What does this mean? What does that mean?"
hmm
If he was doing that every day,
hmm
if he just threw something out there, a picture of David Cornsweet on set, not in the Superman costume, maybe just
No.
sitting in one of the chairs,
Yeah.
you know,
Or a
a
hint of
picture of him playing with
something.
his dog.
The back of a set, I mean, they do that a lot,
Uh-huh.
where it's like from the other side, or just
Yeah.
or some prop that I'll tell you something. George Lucas, Lucasfilm, when the prequels were being made, they were doing kind of a lot of that, where it would be, you would just see a little bit of a set or something like that. There was a lot. I remember those days when there was a lot of the promos, being put out. But yeah, I totally agree with you, because in the absence of any real news, these negativity guys are going to jump in there, because as we feed on negativity as a society, and that's not good. Nature abhors a vacuum.
Yeah.
But the internet loves it. you know um I think that one of the things going on is that Marvel has dominated the movie industry for many, many years now. And maybe if DC can make these new movies and they're good and it's whatever, that will be a shot in the arm,
It will.
because it'll make Marvel go, man, we really have to be on our game now. Where really they're the only game in town. We really, they are up against, and I've said this before, they're up against post Endgame. They shot themselves in the foot in some ways by making two films, that arc, that was so big and so immense and so cool and so wonderful, and it was the swan song for their biggest actors, that there's just no way of topping that, and everything's got to get compared to that. So when an Ant-Man movie makes a half of what Endgame made or something like that, I'm exaggerating, then all suddenly it's like, oh no, it's all in trouble, it's all going down the tubes.
But
you
you've
know
also got to remember that after Endgame, the next Marvel movie was delayed
mm-hmm.
and then put on Disney Plus because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And by the time Marvel started putting movies back in the theater, the whole thing about going to the theater had changed.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it. Ed's like, yeah, I don't go to the movies anymore unless it's something super important.
Mm-hmm.
Last movie I went to go see in the theater was Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm. See,
Um,
personally, I'm always going to go see a Marvel movie, no matter what it is, in the theater. I'm always going to go see a Star Wars movie in the theater, and then oddball things like Dune. If it's a big thing like that, I'm gonna go. I still like going to the theaters.
and I do too, but I didn't see the first Dune in the theater. I saw it on my
Okay.
TV because it was released, and I haven't gone to see the second one. But the day it hits streaming, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
But see, it even worked on me, and I'm that guy that went, "Oh, I want to see all the big movies on the big screen. I want to see the Avengers and stuff." But I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy just fine on my TV.
Yeah. Well, you're that younger generation. You're not as old as I am.
I think for me, it's because I've had a lot of mobility issues.
Yeah. Sure.
So
Sure. You watch things the way you're able to watch them. And when you have a lot of it that you can watch and that makes you more comfortable, of course you're going to, do that. Thank God, knock on wood, I'm still able to get in a car and drive over to a theater that's not that, just a couple miles from me, and at maybe 11 o'clock in the morning on Friday and watch, a film and enjoy it,
Mhm.
So, and as long as I'm still able to do that, I'm gonna do that. I'm not
Right.
a big
But,
streaming guy. That's still weird to me,
but think about this. You've got all these websites and stuff creating content with a
Mm,
negative bent towards these new movies.
yeah.
Then you look at the cost, as Ed points out, 2 tickets, 1 box of popcorn, and 1 soda they shared was over $50.
Yeah. See,
So
I don't normally eat or drink at a movie. So, and I'm part of the movie club, this Cinemark movie club. So I get a ticket, every month or whatever the heck it is. So it's just not
yeah,
that bad, and it's just me. So,
yeah,
that's not bad at all.
no, and I
I
used
usually I usually smuggle a bottle of pop in because my theater doesn't have the brand that I want.
yeah, but my issue is that, for one thing, I don't miss it as much as I thought I would.
Okay, good point.
That's the thing. And then, but like I said, you've got these movies are getting negative response before
Yeah,
anybody sees it.
yeah.
I mean, you look at some of these movies that didn't do as well as they were supposed to, and then you start looking at like the audience scores, and it's like, well, the audience scores aren't that bad.
hmm
Um,
Dan, one of these things that I don't believe is all these negative guys who do all of that stuff. I don't really believe that they really are like that. I don't believe they're people who literally hate everything and walk around every day in life and are negative about everything. I think it's just that they've glommed onto the fact that that's going to get them hits, so they're going to just build upon that and keep doing. But I mean, I don't even. It's like they maybe secretly love the movies but they say, oh, my followers don't want that, so I can't say anything like that. I have to keep that locked inside my heart, and I need to keep building up the negativity. Yeah, but if the studios did a bunch of positive stuff, it would be harder for them to go up against that with the negativity, and they may see their hits go down because people are hanging on the very next piece of promo
yeah,
that the studio, James Gunn, whoever that, Kevin Feige, whoever is, Dave Filoni, whatever that they're going to put out there,
yeah.
you know.
But
You know what? And you're right. It would take those industry leaders to lead the way, lead that charge. All those people, Fahey, Filoni, Gunn, who, any of those big people, if they led the charge, then maybe everybody else would come up, and join them in this wave of, and it's gonna, it's promotion, sure, it's just shilling, you know what we need? We need a Stan Lee.
yeah,
That's
you need,
really
you
what
need
we
a
need.
modern day Stan Lee. You need him, and you need him on social media. You need him hitting all of it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if Marvel called me right now, I know exactly what I would do.
hmm
I would assign someone to each set to get 1 minute clips of different actors and behind the scenes, just so there was
Absolutely.
something going out for that movie every day.
Yeah. Yep. We used to apologize for what we called shameless promotion. It's like, no, we need that. Please,
Right.
shame me with more
The
promotion,
thing is that you're promoting it through sharing.
Yeah.
If you're just coming on, and this is the Fall Guy, all the ads for the Fall Guy were the exact same. They just showed the same thing over and over again.
hmm
And it's like, okay, you're banking on Ryan Gosling.
hmm
Ryan Gosling has had one movie do more than $35 million in his life open, and that was Barbie. And nobody went to go see Barbie for Ryan Gosling.
Right.
Yeah. His next best was Blade Runner 2049.
hmm
Nobody went to go see Blade Runner 2049 for Ryan Gosling. Then we get to Fall Guy, which was him in the lead, and he did like 28 million.
Isn't that the if we build it, they will come mentality?
So if there's, if you're just sharing stuff and keeping a positive flow and showing people behind the scenes stuff, they'll get excited for it and they'll remember it. And if they're not online for a few days, it starts popping up in their For You feeds. And that's the type of stuff that would keep people interested rather than, was Quantumania a good movie?
I enjoyed it.
So did I.
Mm-hmm.
What's the opinion of it online?
I don't know. Probably not.
A lot of people say they hated it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know that the audience score on it is 82%?
Are you telling me it's a false narrative?
Okay. The other thing is that it didn't make, you know what the opening weekend for Quantumania was? Just take a guess.
Was it 100,000?
106 million.
106. I mean 6 million. Pardon me. 106 million. Okay.
Yeah. DC's over there doing like 20 and 30 million. Marvel does 106 million and is considered a flop. That's only about what 10 million, less than 10 million from what Guardians Volume 3 did.
Yeah.
Its overall total.
We should have such flops.
I know. Its overall total take worldwide was $476 million. DC would kill for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're going to see that with this Superman movie.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
If Superman doesn't do, if Superman doesn't do a billion, I think there's really something wrong there. Oh, we have Brian Ridgway joining us. He says, kind of hard to promote projects that they don't really believe in. We also live in a negative culture, which is the internet promotes. Exactly. That's what we were saying earlier, Brian. And that's why I think that the studios need to control the narratives and put positive feed out there. And like I said, nobody gets together to make a bad movie. You anytime you watch like the behind the scenes stuff or director's commentary, the majority of the time, these people are in love with the movies they're making. They are trying to make the best movie possible. And if you bring that enthusiasm before the movie and you do little clips and scenes and fun moments between the actors and stuff, you're not spoiling the movie, but you're keeping people in the loop and you're sharing all that behind the scenes stuff that people like to watch. Show some of it up front. While you're filming and while you put into the edit day, show the director in the edit bay going, oh, wait, no, out, you can't see this. Just little clips like that.
At this moment in time, they should be, in my opinion, like really introducing the Superman actor to the world. I mean, he's not that well known. I mean, really kind of push him or, promote him, get people more excited about seeing him as Superman. Tell us why he was chosen exactly. Show us, why he, was chosen to play Superman. Yeah, I'm with you.
Batman is not a fascist, says the superhero genre is dead. The MCU formula ruined DC. James Gunn will ruin the DCU even more than he did than the DCEU. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we're just about wrapped up for the show. But Guardians of the Galaxy made over $800 million last year. It was like behind Barbie and Oppenheimer, one of the better grossing movies. It won its weekend. It did a decent opening and continued to climb. It wasn't as big as the Volume 2. It was about 30 million below Volume 2, both in opening and at the end, which I think is more dictated by the fact that there is about there is a percentage of the audience that is not returning to the theaters, and it's global. You can look; every single country has a certain percentage that's not returning, and it's across the board. Like I said, it carried all the way from opening weekend to leaving the theater was about the same percentage. So, but do I consider the superhero genre dead? No, I think DC got lost, didn't know what they were doing, had too many cooks, and they got rid of Zack Snyder, who was guiding them in a certain direction, whether you like that direction or not.
Yeah.
He was taking them in a direction, and then they were rudderless for many movies, and now they have someone else steering. Now, will Gunn guide them to the thing? People seem to love the Suicide Squad movie. Guardians of the Galaxy has been a hit. I don't see why he shouldn't be able to make a good Superman movie, but we'll see. You know, we won't really know until it actually comes out. Let's see. Brian says, I live in Michigan. 15 years ago, we had the best film incentive program in the country. Greed destroyed it. Yep. We used to have a great one here. Now it's Atlanta, or they go up to Canada. He says, and I tried watching Love and Thunder today. That film is a primal example of why people check out a dumb toy commercial. It's funny. We talked about Love and Thunder on Thursday. And to me, that's the worst Marvel movie. And I said that it would take a lot to get me to watch it again. But I would watch it again over some of the DC stuff. You know, I don't want to watch The Flash. I've seen a chunk of it. I don't need to see any more of it. That night after the show, turns out Lisa and Braden hadn't seen Love and Thunder and wanted to watch it. So we watched it.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem with that movie is that Kevin Feige was too busy. They let Taika Waititi have free reign, and they were more invested in the jokes and the ad-libbing than they were telling the story. So you ended up with some very uneven storytelling, with some very serious moments suddenly crashing into these humorous moments.
Yeah.
So
it's the only Marvel movie post Endgame that I haven't rewatched, and it's funny because it is because of the serious part of that movie. It's a cancer story, and I lost my wife that way, so I can't, I watched it once and I can't rewatch it. Again, it's kind of ironic, I'm trying to remember the other parts of the movie. I didn't hate it, but yeah, I guess it's a little schizophrenic, but I don't think it's the worst Marvel movie, at all. Like, I barely remember Shang-Chi. I think I was more disappointed in Shang-Chi because I didn't agree with the road that they took with it. I wanted a street level kung fu movie, and they went, never ending story.
I can see that. I enjoyed Shang-Chi. And there were some things in Love and Thunder that worked. And I don't know why. I find the screaming goats hilarious.
Now I remember that, and I did not care for it. I actually liked her as Thor. I did think that was good, and and
I think they needed to either be serious or be funny with some be serious with some funny moments, but they were schizophrenic in that. I mean, did we need Russell Crowe to play to hold his skirt up when he went down the stairs?
Yeah, I did not care for that. And the dumb accent that he was doing, that was a misfire. They also did not utilize the Guardians.
No.
And I think they were a bigger part of that movie, and then got edited out, a lot of it, to the point where we were saying, like, why are they didn't add anything to this movie,
Well, Guardians 3 was supposed to come out before Thor, Love and Thunder. So he would have been in their movie, and then he wouldn't have been in this one.
Yeah.
But it got flipped around, so suddenly Taika had to do something with the character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also felt like all the growth that we've had with Thor over the years was suddenly regressed to him being pompous and arrogant again.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it probably made Ragnarok look better to some people. I actually really like Ragnarok, but it was pretty criticized, and I still have seen people say that it hit that and they didn't like the Thor movies anymore.
yeah, see, I'm kind of funny. My favorite Thor movie is still the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of that, to me, the first one is the Thor we got from the comics. It's the big fantasy epic fantasy. It's
remember the second one? No, it's because nobody remembers the second one. I can barely tell you anything about the what the hell is it even called?
Or the Dark World.
Dark World.
It was originally supposed to be directed by Patty Jenkins,
mm-hmm.
who went on to do Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
She got taken out, so they got themselves a director from Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. And he disagreed. He wanted to do more serious. They wanted a little more lighthearted. They took out Dallas Howard, I think his name is. No, Dallas something. The guy who was playing Fandral, and brought in not Krasinski, the guy that played Shazam. Replaced his Fandral.
That guy.
Yeah. And the whole idea is that Christopher Eccleston's character of Malekith is trying to get the Ether to finally take over the 9 realms, as he had planned to do back when Odin fought him years or centuries before. And he used Algrim, the Dark Elf, as his henchman. Yeah, I remember the movie.
Okay, it's more than I remember.
Yeah, but you got a good idea.
Thor's mother in it, I remember that.
Yeah, Freya dies in it.
Yeah,
Jane Foster gets the ether inside of her, so she gets a Infinity Stone inside of her.
You know, it's funny. Is it Endgame where they revisit Dark World?
Yes.
Yeah, all of that was better, more memorable than the movie itself.
That's the thing with Kevin Feige, is he'll come along and go, "You didn't like that,
right?" So let's
see if we can make
something with that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he'll do that with Love and Thunder.
Maybe, but he's got to work on the Eternals first.
I'm slightly changing my tune about Eternals, but that's a work in progress, right?
I actually like the Eternals movie. It's very different.
I've told you before, if they re-edit it into a TV series and put it on Disney Plus, believe me, there'd be a lot of Eternal fans. All they have to do is re-edit it into about 8 episodes or whatever. I'm sure there's enough footage, out there, and I think then it would work.
Brian says Ragnarok was an oddity. Wasn't all what they had advertised, but I enjoyed it for some strange reason. I will tell you that I liked Ragnarok as a movie. I didn't like it as a Thor movie. Ragnarok is entertaining, but it wasn't a Thor movie to me.
Okay.
It was too humorous. It was too silly at times. But when I kind of shut my mind off thinking, don't think of this as a Thor movie, I could get into the movie a bit. But I couldn't do that with Love and Thunder. Ever, at any point. Because there was
maybe
a
someday I'll be able to reassess Love and Thunder, but not now.
Yeah. It just, I don't get the reason for the Axe to be jealous. I don't know. You could have left out Omnipotent City altogether and it wouldn't have mattered to the movie. They could have done another way to get the lightning bolt, or he could have just not had it. I don't understand him giving his powers to all the kids. Do we need that kind of kumbaya moment?
No. Yeah, that I will agree with. I generally do not like children in movies or in anything for that matter.
Yeah. So, no, Love and Thunder is the bottom of the Marvel scale for me, but it's still better than Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
I'll have to just take your word for that. On that. I think that's been forgotten. I don't think most people even know that movie exists. Nobody talks about it, or
It's like we're like a week or so away from Madam Web debuting on Netflix.
What? What? Is there a Madam Web movie?
And I will watch it.
Uh-huh. I will
Because
look
I'm hoping
forward
it'll
to
make
your
more,
review of
I figure worst case scenario, it makes Morbius look better.
it. Yeah. Wait until Craven comes up. Wait, Craven's like, hold my beer. You know?
They keep delaying Craven. It's now December. Because when I think Christmas, I think Craven.
Krampus Craven. Sure, it sounds similar.
It says it seemed like a Mel Brooks spoof of Thor. Yeah, Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, yes. But again, how do you deal with stage 4 cancer in the middle of ad-libbing lines? I think you should need to take that a little more seriously. You know, and Gore the God Butcher is this great character from the comics everybody wanted them to use. I don't think they want them to use him like that. You get Christian Bale into a movie, and then you give him like a handful of good lines, and then he just sits there, looks creepy the rest of the time. If you want that, you get Willem Dafoe. All right, we're going to wrap it up. If you haven't hit the like, subscribe buttons, I would appreciate it. We will be back next week with whatever topic we come up with. I will also be on The Experience on Tuesday with the latest news, and on Thursday with another topic for the Dan Wickline Show. Remember, check out Space Coast. #1 is in stores now. Also, see if you didn't get there for Free Comic Day, maybe they still have some free comics left. Check it out. We will see you guys later. Have a terrific